So I want to try something a little bit different today. This will be a full solo GM run, but I'll give commentary over it, making it a bit of a hybrid between a build video, a GM solo, and just kind of giving my thoughts on the plays I made and probably what I could have done better. The main part of the build I'm using here is the Final Warning sidearm, which is one of the best DPS primaries in the game, the Whirling Maelstrom aspect, which turns tangles into viable damage, and Star Eater Scales. This is like the base version of Star Eater Scales. So it gives more super energy on orb pickup and has the effect where the more orbs you collect with a full super, the more damage it does. So just going into the gym itself, I know you can skip that first champion, but I just thought I'd kill it to get super energy. In this part I'm just going straight to the end because this will bring all the enemies into this area, which makes it a bit faster. Probably not a good idea on Strand Hunter though. Like, if you're playing Consecration Titan, do this every time. If you're not playing Consecration Titan, especially while solo, this is probably risky and just not really worth it. But it does make it a little bit faster. But you can see the problem here where the enemies have all grouped up, which is great, but they've kind of grouped up a bit too much, and there's scorn totems everywhere, nothing's really getting damaged too much, and it's just a bit of a mess. So yeah, Consecration Titan do this, anything else, maybe not. But to be fair, the weapons are doing pretty good damage. I'm already over halfway to the next super, and having a super here would probably clear the majority of the room, but I'm also taking a lot of damage. So here, just backing up a little bit, I'm really close to a super at this point. I'm gonna get it in a second, there we go. Okay, but still, again, low health. The modifier means I won't get any health regen, so I've just got to be a little bit careful, which I really wasn't. But anyway, get in, activate super, and this should clear majority of the room. Also, it's worth noting these scorn totems, which are everywhere in the strike and are really annoying. Supers can go straight through them. So if you are in super, don't really worry about taking them out, just focus dealing with damage while you can. I didn't really realise this straight away, and probably could have done a lot better if I just focused damage instead of taking out these totems. But still, it's only been about 2 minutes and this room's pretty much done at this point, so not terrible. And a lot of the damage has come from the Baton, and if a bit of damage has come from either the tangles themselves or the Final Warning sidearm. A good thing about Final Warning as well is kind of like Outbreak, it's a primary weapon which deals a lot of damage, which translates to a lot of super energy. And that super, especially with Feast of Light stacks, is easily able to clear out just entire rooms of enemies. And now onto this plate part, nothing really happens, it's just again using Baton because it has AoE potential and a lot of enemies go into the choke point, so it's easy enough to deal with. It's probably the best weapon in the game right now, to be fair. It's a utility option more than a DPS option, but that doesn't matter. What it does is fantastic. You'll get orbs with Attrition orbs continuously. So it's every 10 tags on any target will make an orb. And obviously if you're hitting multiple targets repeatedly, this will make multiple orbs per shot. These orbs, especially in this build, are really useful because they can give us more super energy because of the base Star Eaters. I also have armor mods on, which means I get health back on orb pickup, which is fantastic as I would normally not regen health at all. And just the area frame weapons themselves are just amazing at base. And the increased health is good and it is making me play a bit more aggressive than I typically would in a GM, but you probably don't have to be this aggressive realistically. I do take it a bit far at times, but thankfully there's a lot of get out of jail options of this subclass realistically. I'll have Woven Mail up most of the time, which helps as well. Now here coming up with 2 champions, this is quite easy because I have a super ready with max Feast of Light as well. So this super will be doing 70% more. Stun the first champion, stun the second overload here, well when a totem goes away, and then it's just, they both instantly die to a super. Like, look at this is honestly ridiculous. So that 4 hits and I kills a champion from full health, it's pretty good. And I'd really recommend just running a roaming super now in pretty much any GM realistically. I don't really see the value in using one-offs when they're going to be 3 times slow now and probably do a lot less damage as well. You got to consider, you want the super for the whole strike, not just the boss, and because these roaming supers have like inherent overload damage boost now, that will help you out in the long term a lot more. Into this next room, it's quite easy to deal with because a lot of the enemies kind of group up in this choke point. But the main consideration I have here is I came in with pretty much no supercharge. So a lot of primary damage here just to build this up. You saw it went up a lot there. So that was a lot of a sidearm damage, and there was a Whirling Maelstrom tangle at the bottom of the room also dealing damage at the same time. So yeah, pretty much instant super. And with the super, it is very easy to clear this room. This was Feast of Light ×5, so it wasn't the absolute best, but it still gave the super a pretty decent damage boost, which turned out just to be enough anyway, so that worked out completely fine. So after clearing this room, you typically do go through the portal, but there's actually a little skip you can do here. Because someone's stranding got the movement options, you can just kind of skip this section completely, just, grapple across. If you don't have the movement options, you'll probably have to do the room, and there's some benefits to do that. Like here I'm going against these two champions and have pretty much no super charge. If I went through the other room, I'd be full super at this point. And again, no super, probably shouldn't play super aggressive, but whatever, it's fine. The slammer also, maybe not the best choice for a gem. I kind of just chose this because it has the capability to stun both champion types as it can freeze. But it's definitely risky. I probably wouldn't recommend a slammer most of the time for GMs, or any sword for that matter, but you can definitely get away with it, and again, because Woven Mail is pretty much always active here, then yeah, it works, whatever. And this is another section of capturing plates, which means again, just more AoE area denial using Baton. Like you can see here, it's just a whole group of enemies, you fire a single Baton shot, everything dies, you get about 20 billion orbs. A lot of supercharge, it's just, yeah, it's a bit good. Just be a bit careful of these chieftains because they can do a lot of damage and are just annoying to deal with. But look how easy this plate is to capture, it's not bad at all. And here I'm not playing like an idiot on purpose, I'm just trying to find some special ammo thinners, just to make sure I've got enough Baton ammo. But it's, yeah, look, it's probably not the cleanest play. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's just looking for some random target. There we go. Got the second special ammo thinny. Perfect. We're good. Okay. And yeah, I don't know what happened to that chieftain. Just yeah, he's gone now, I guess. This second plate a bit harder because you are very much more in the open. That's why I did this 1 second, so I will have super at this point. So if it does get a bit spicy, I can just pop super. Again, roaming supers, another good thing. 90% damage resist while active. I think that's all of them have the same damage resist, but I know this one definitely does, and you get the movement options, so you're very, very safe. I popped to here to get rid of that chieftain because again, they're just really annoying. And because I was on 6-star eater stacks, I got a full overshield as well, so that's even more damage resist. There's no way I'm going to die here. I can just sit on the plate, super's active, whatever, nice and easy. And now I pick up this grapple to throw it up here so I can grapple to it and just don't have a grapple. Yep, great. So, up the long way. I thought I had one, but apparently not. So this build as well, because nothing's really happening for the next section, I'm going to go over a few things. This is not a meta build at all. When do you see anyone running pure Strand Hunter? A lot of the things it can do, you can do on prismatic, and that would probably be a little better, but because it's not meta doesn't mean it's really bad. There's a lot of good things here. The Whirling Maelstrom is fantastic. And snaring slam's fun as well, it's just an instant champion stun. Pretty good crowd control too. And the fragments I've used are the following. So continuity, which just makes strand debuffs last longer. Unravel is applied with the final warning and the tangles. There is always that going, and there's also obviously suspend as well. These Thread of a Sense of It grenades reload weapons, which is just good to have. Thread of Generation, so that any damage I deal gives grenade charge back, again so I get more grenades, which means more reloads. And Thread of Warding, so picking up an Orb of Power will give Woven Mail for 5 seconds. Really good to this build, because a lot of orbs are made with a Baton. Really good for any build as well, Woven Mail is fantastic. Is it coming up to these sections here where there's quite a lot of enemies? These two Overload champions here may be worth a super, but at the time I was just thinking, okay, I know I've got the bridge section directly after this. So I'm just going to hold the super here, just take these out with a Baton and just normal weapon damage, but you can see again these totems are just everywhere. They're just, oh god, they're annoying. But again, it's only 2 overload champions, surely we can deal with this easy enough. And you can see the orbs on the floor, like, these are building up rapid, which will mean going into the next section as well. Feast of Light is already at 6 stacks, so the super will be very powerful. I'm going to cut into a commentary here quickly because this champion's tweaking, whatever. Do you prefer commentary or do you prefer just gameplay footage? Let me know in the comments. Just finishing up with weapon damage. I don't really know why the slammer didn't stun it there. It's one of life's greatest mysteries, I suppose. Okay, so onto the bridge section. This is where there's a lot of enemies, and I wanted to get this done quite quickly. So the plan is, go in, use a super, try and get both champions straight away, maybe 1 or 2 of the like big chieftain enemies, and we'll go from there. So straight in, we're looking for a champion, yeah, but the ensnaring slam didn't even go for where I intended it to, but it kind of worked out. That's 1 champion down, the other champion down, and 1 of the big chieftains in 1 super. So that's kind of what I wanted. Now it's been cleared out quite a lot. There should be a Whirling Maelstrom, hopefully. There's a tangle back there, should probably hit that sooner. Is it going? No? Okay, but again, the grenade launcher itself is dealing with a lot of the enemies. Oh yeah, it's going now, I see it, yeah, it's spinning. There we go. I don't know why I grappled in there, that was just stupid. Whatever. So, with this 1 guy left, you can kind of see here like, how much damage this weapon actually does. Again, primary weapon. And you can see, like, just deletes enemies, it's kind of ridiculous. And the thing you want to do with this, obviously build up a full charge, shoot it into the enemy's head, ideally ADS, that'll do more damage. If you hit fire, it tracks, but less damage. And after the burst, you can repeatedly tap fire, and the few shots following it will maintain the damage boost. So now onto the boss room after I took some damage by swording into the wall for absolutely no reason. But it doesn't matter because there'll be a lot of enemies spawning grouped up here, which means a lot of orbs of the Baton, and an easy way to regen health by collecting those orbs. I want to super in this room as much as possible, and unfortunately I got knocked back quite far, which wasted a bit of super time, but it didn't really matter. Took out the champion straight away and all nearby adds. Gave us a bit of time for boss damage as well. Could have got a bit more if I wasn't knocked back, but it's fine. Outside of super, it's just building up super. So trying to get this primary damage on the boss and other targets, because that is the best way to build super. Using the Baton because it's a weaken the boss with the artifact mods used, and again it's just more passive super energy. The enemies spawn in waves, which means you can deal with them with AoE effects pretty good. The ensnaring slam made this entire wave of enemies just completely free. And it's just a clean up. And again, look, 1 wave of enemy spawns later, we've already got super back. I should pop this straight away. Yeah, okay, that's good, okay. So this should finish off a boss, we don't need Feast of Light stacks of this, so not really much point generating extra orbs. Now into this section. In here, all I really want to do is come out the other side of it with hopefully full super and ideally again full stacks of Feast of Light. This is another spot where there's not really much happening, so I'll go over a few artifact choices instead. So I use Total Carnage. This one, when finishing an enemy, gives you a bit of damage resist, what is great. And it also gives a bit of health back. So if you're in a bit of a pickle, which you can see a few times I'm finishing a few enemies here and there, this will be a way to get health back in this modifier, so again, just a nice thing to have. I use Supernova and Power from Pain, and this can make Void Breaches on Void multi-kills, and picking up those Void Breaches are weakened targets, and then if you defeat weakened targets, you get Devour. I don't know if it's actually happened in this run, maybe once or twice, but if you can get the combo going, it's pretty good. I use the thick of it because being near enemies and defeating will give armor charges. These armor charges are used for special finishes. I use Felver Revenant for more scorn damage, and Concussive Reload because this makes grenades, in this case a Baton, weaken champion or boss targets. So just finishing up here, we can see we have max Feast of Light, picked up the Tangle so I can use it as a Maelstrom in the next room, and off we go. In this second section there is a lot of enemies that spawn in at once, so this super does a lot here. Takes out the Unstop instantly and that Abomination, which can be a Bane enemy, and I even had time left again for boss damage. Pretty good use, to be honest. Now again, this is kind of like the first phase where enemies all spawn in waves or close together. Yeah, be ensnaring slam again. This is very good for taking them out. The Whirling Maelstrom's doing some damage, finish him up with a grapple. Looks pretty good. But yeah, here's a thing. Look, I instantly got back to full health after casting a finisher, so that's really good to have. Another wave of enemies is coming in. I don't really have much this time. I probably should have ensnaring slam, but didn't for some reason. But yeah, that's what I should have done. But it's easy enough to deal with this, look. But I did super way too early. I didn't have, I think, any Feast of Light stacks here. Maybe a couple. But like, I activated the super as soon as I got it, so I didn't really give myself a chance to do so. What I should do is use a Baton for another few seconds, just fire it into a bunch of enemies here, or even to a boss itself. Get a few Feast of Light stacks, and then activate super. If I did it that way, I could phase the boss with just one super, and I'd be already in the next room by now. It didn't really matter because I can just spam the abilities and there's nothing too threatening in this room, but it would have sped things up a little bit. Okay, that's the boss dealt with, so now it's into this last room. This is even easier than the first room, to be honest. There's nothing threatening in here. It's just, again, build up super if I didn't have it, which I probably shouldn't if I did things right, but I already have it at this point, so instead it's just build to max Feast of Light stacks and get out as fast as possible. It was kind of ridiculous how many tangles you can generate with this build, because the final warning, if you are using a fully charged shot, will unravel on every single hit it does. So that does mean you always have a strand debuff, which means you will always generate a tangle as long as it's not on cooldown. Also, what I did use for this, so the seasonal armor set, if you're using the artifact mod for the Revenant, you get bonus damage to Scorn, which everything in here I think is Scorn. If you use the seasonal armor set on top of that, you get additional bonus damage. I think it starts at like 3%, and if you're wearing 4 pieces, it goes to 15%, I believe. I didn't use 4 pieces, I think I used 2 pieces because the stats on a lot of these armor sets is just really bad. But I did use that, and it does mean I'm getting a bit of extra damage to Scorn. And again here, this is exactly the same as the previous 2 phases, so there's an overload champion instead of an unstopped champion this time, but it's exactly the same. You just stun it, pop super, take it out, and everything else out near it, and then use the rest of the super on the boss. Building up to super again here, which I'm pretty far way off, and there's a bunch of totems, so I just got to be a bit careful here. But the thing I'm thinking is just, okay, just build up to super. Just either hit the boss itself or enemies. And as soon as I get super here with Feast of Light, it'll be enough to kill. Although to be honest, the play is a little bit sloppy at this point, but the idea is still there. There's a wave of ads spawning here, I should probably just dive into them. Do I? Yes, okay, good. This should be enough to get super. Okay, here we go. So, this time, I actually thought about it more than not at all, so that's good. Thinking, okay, let's just get to max Feast of Light stacks because that basically guarantees the kill. And I could just shoot at a boss repeatedly to get orbs, it's no big deal. Or these enemies here. If I dodge, I've got powerful attraction, so I should collect the orbs. Yep, okay, cool. And that should be enough. Again, I'm actually going straight through the Scorn totem this time. Super damage goes straight through the stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's the gem. 18 minutes. Not too bad for a kind of strange build. And I got Star Eaters, so that's cool. Thank you for watching.